What's your take on Clemson and Dabo Swinney?
I, I think Clemson is actually underrated going into the season. But I like the quarterback. I like the skill position players. They need to figure out what they're going to do at running back. The front seven should be solid. Getting Barrett Carter back was arguably the best linebacker in the nation. That was huge. I think they're going to be underrated.
Where would you put them in like a top 25?
Honestly, I'm gonna go range because I haven't really just sat down and thought who should be ranked where
Yeah.
outside of like the top five. But I don't think they're top five worthy, but maybe back of the top 10 through 15 area, like 9 through 15.
Yeah. I it's so interesting. I there I think they're a difficult team to gauge. I would trend towards saying towards disagreeing with you and saying overrated. Um, but I mean, you said they have questions at running back. I mean, Phil Maffa is good at there. They hired new coaches on offensive line and defensive line, who I think should be improvements. That's Matt Luke at O line, former Georgia O line coach a few years back. And I forget who their D line coach is, but he's worked there before, and he's pretty good. Um, I'm just not a fan of Cade Klubnik, and their wide receiver room doesn't have enough depth, nor does their O line. But that's just my opinion. And for me, they're hard to read because they're in the ACC, which is a weak conference, and they're not using the portal, which stinks. But they still have a lot of talent, and they're recruiting at like a top 15, occasionally top 10 level. So you
I'm
s-
expecting Klubnik to take a major jump when I say that. I should have probably preferenced that.
yeah, major jump. Do you think that's just because Garrett Riley's in his second year that he's going to take a major jump?
Yeah, I think just being used to being comfortable in the system.
Yeah, that's big, and that's a good point. I mean, they went from pro style to air raid. That's a pretty drastic move.
Right.
Yeah, and he didn't look good in the spring game, but there's also the fact that Clemson's defense is always well recruited, and they're well disciplined and they're well coached. I don't think they're as well coached as they were under Venables, but Venables was a genius there at defensive coordinator. So it's hard to go up from him or retain at that level. Um,
Right.
yeah. Do you think they'll win the ACC?
Yes, only because I'm not sure about DJU at Florida State. Well, no, take that. I like Miami. I forgot about. I forgot Ward went to Miami. So let me say, going to Miami. I'm just gonna say yes. I'm just gonna stick on the Clemson bandwagon right now.
Understandable. All right. Next team up, Georgia. What's your take on them?
I know a lot of people is gonna probably disagree with me, but I believe Georgia is overrated, and I'm rating them based on being the best team in the country. I don't see why Georgia is just like hands down the best team. No question. I get it. The offensive line is great. I get it. Carson Beck is probably arguably the number one quarterback in the NFL draft coming up. Him or Shador. Running back, uh, we got to see. They got a couple of transfers that I like at receiver, but nothing really scare you on offense. Defense, they should be good. Mikel Starks is one of the best DBs in the country. They got Everett, but outside of them two, who you have? I know they got a bunch of 4 stars, 5 stars, but actual production, Williams on the D line should be real good. They got the D tackle back. I can't think of his name. The nose.
Is it Nazir Stackhouse?
Yeah. But other than that, like we're giving Georgia the benefit of the doubt because they're Georgia. Because Kirby Smart is Kirby Smart. But if we're basing this on actual return and production, what? Why is Georgia just better than Ohio State or Oregon or these other teams?
Yeah. Um, I have them at number one, but that is a fair question to ask, and I think the best answer I can provide is it looks like it's going to be a down year in football. That's probably the best answer that I could say. And because I view it as a down year in football, I mean, this is with me, I kind of just default. If it's going to be a down year, well, who's the best program? And right now that's Georgia. I mean, they recruit the best, develop the best, and they have the best head coach. But they do have questions, like in run defense. And their offense is great. They have several weapons, but they're probably just by design, by coordinator. I think even a Georgia fan would admit that it's more likely they'll have the best defense in the country than the best offense in the country, just given how they operate.
Agreed.
Yeah, they bring in
And I
Trevor.
respect.
Oh, you continue.
I'm sorry. I'm saying I respect saying because they've been the best program. So I respect that reasoning.
Yeah, but it's like what you said. I mean, Georgia returns more production than Ohio State by rankings, but that's just because of how Bill Connolly how he measures all of that stuff, and he cares a lot about like Ohio State loses most of their passing yards offensively because Harrison's gone and Kyle McCord is
Over.
gone, and Georgia returns that stuff. But in terms of starters and in terms of veterancy, Ohio State does have they have a big edge there. They return a lot more starters. And Georgia also loses, they lose Fran Brown. That was a pretty big loss. They brought in Tavarius Robinson from Alabama. And Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers was huge. We saw part of the reason Georgia wasn't in the playoff last year was because he wasn't fully healthy, and therefore he couldn't be targeted as much, and he wasn't as useful against a defense like Alabama's. And
Right.
I mean, Van Pran, good center, elite center actually last year, he's gone. And Amarius Mims, their tackle, who was taken in the first round of this draft. So I don't think there's any team. I think the point that I'm trying to make, and I think it's the point you're trying to make too, there's no team this year who enters without major questions. Not just questions, but like critical, major areas that could be doubted.
I agree.
Do you think that Georgia will win the SEC?
Oh man, I don't know because I actually really do like Ole Miss this year, and I felt like I'd be contradicting myself or stealing your answer by just saying yeah by default.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna say yeah. I'm I'm gonna be on the fence on that one. I'm sorry.
No, 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 you're good. Ole Miss hosts Georgia, and Vegas's line on that's actually like Georgia by only, I think, 6.5. Like it's not even a double-digit spread, which shocked me because Georgia annihilated them last year, and I included Ole Miss as some of my teams in this discussion. Um, we'll get to it, but I think you can already tell that I don't think Ole Miss is this elite team, but it is what it is. I don't think this year is going to be like 22 or 23 or in retrospect 21, where in 21 and 22 you had Georgia In 22, you also had Ohio State and Michigan, who were like uber dominant until Ohio State lost to Michigan, and then Michigan lost to TCU. And I don't think you'll even have like last year, where Michigan and Georgia as well, those were uber dominant teams. But then you had like several other teams like Washington, Oregon, Ohio State, who like were still really good at controlling games. I think this year there's gonna be more chaos, in a different way than '07 and 21, but still more chaos. And Georgia could fall victim to that chaos.
I can see that.
A team who can benefit though from chaos is Notre Dame. What's your take on Notre Dame?
If the quarterback from Duke can stay healthy, I actually like Notre Dame a lot.
Are they a playoff team?
I think they are. They're a playoff team. I think they're right there in the 5 through 8 range, especially if Riley Leonard can stay healthy. I love the defense. I love Xavier Watt. I think he's one of the most underrated safety. I know a lot of Caleb Downs and Mikael Starks get a lot of the pub, but Watts is really good. Ben Morris is, if Will Johnson ain't the best corner, Ben Morris is arguably the best corner in the country.
Yeah.
I like Marcus Freeman still though. I still worry about him still being a young coach. You always got to go through your growing pains, but I do like this Notre Dame team.
Yeah, I would say for Notre Dame, yeah, Watts and Morrison. I forgot Morrison came back. I forget the names of their defensive tackles, but both of them come back. And they were rated very highly by Pro Football Focus. And, yeah, Jack Kaiser is back, I think, for his 6th year. He's pretty good at linebacker. My biggest question for them isn't even Freeman, because I think that what Freeman is building through recruiting, the portal, and I don't know. I think that he can take the program to a level that Brian Kelly wasn't going to, which is incredible given how Notre Dame's athletic leadership is stubborn and loves to be obsolete. Like, please just join a conference and reap the benefits already.
Agreed.
My biggest concern for them is probably their defensive coordinator, Al Golden, who I think mismanages the talent that is placed on that defense. But Freeman, growing pains are natural, but 9-4 and 22 with a few bad losses last year. Every single one of Notre Dame's losses, Clemson, Louisville, Ohio State, those were all teams that finished ranked. There was no loss to Marshall, no loss to Stanford, which is just gross. None of that. And I agree with you. I think that they're a playoff team. I think that they might be slightly overrated, but that isn't really due to any preseason, like major preseason hype. It's more so due to the fact that like Michigan losing Harbaugh, so they get shifted back in the rankings now. I think they're a top 10 team. I want to watch their spring game and do more research. I don't know as much about Notre Dame as many of these teams, but I think they're top 10. And yeah, I mean, it's critical that Leonard stays healthy. But even if he isn't this awesome weapon, if they can get things right on defense, and if their O-line reloads like it has in the past, they can be like a mini Michigan and get to the playoffs and potentially do some harm in a down year.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, we're finally here. We're here at Ole Miss. Why do you like Ole Miss? And what do you think their chances are of winning a national championship?
I don't know. I think I like Ole Miss because I like Lane Kiffin. I like him as a coach, an offensive mind. I think part of it is I think I'm a little Alabama, Georgia fatigue. So I'm looking for somebody else. Um, I love Jackson Dart as a quarterback. I do think Walter Nolan can be, if he can live up to his recruiting ranking and his talent, potentially number one pick of the draft. He can really blow up. Um, if it ain't this year for Ole Miss, whenever will it be? More of one of them type of, if not now, when?
Yeah, yeah, that I see that. Corn Crazed, last week's guest, pointed that out. He thinks Ole Miss and Ohio State are actually in a very similar situation, and that shocked me. But then he told me because of how much they've spent on their roster and who they're bringing in, like it is kind of a now or never thing. Not exactly the same as Ohio State, but there are some parallels to be drawn.
Right.
They avoid
Why do you?
Alabama. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was about to say why you think they're overrated.
Oh, um, Lane Kiffin proved me wrong last year in beating Penn State and winning the amount of games that he did, and that's impressive. Um, I'm typically not a fan of the blue chip ratio. I mean, it's useful, it's been proven right, but I think that recruiting has been turned into almost an overrated part of the sport, which is sad because it is really important. Um, Ole Miss is recruited well. That actually the point that I was really trying to make is that Georgia, like a team like Georgia, just has so much more star talent, and that combined with better coaching, just I find a very hard time seeing like Georgia losing to Ole Miss in any way. Now, I think Ole Miss is top 15, probably toward the back of the top 10, so I still think they're really good. I just have a hard time seeing them with I have a hard time seeing them beating a Georgia. That's really what it is. And it'd be the same thing if they were in the Big Ten and playing Ohio State. I would look and I'd say, you can go 11-1, but when you meet up with that team that is that much more talented than you and has a better head coach and better coordinators, they have every advantage over you. Like, how are you going to compensate for that? Like, they have Jackson Dart's a good QB. Not good, that's being disrespectful. He's a great QB. Ulysses Bentley is a great running back. Their O-line should improve, and they have Trey Harris, who's an elite receiver. And they've brought in pieces on defense to be successful. But do all of those great pieces morph into an elite unit on either side of the ball? I guess I just have too many questions that I need to see answered. That's why I think at least they're overrated. But that's just my opinion.
Well, that makes sense.
Do you think they'll make the playoff? And if you do you think that, like, how far do you think they'll go or can go?
I think they will make the playoff, and I think they can make a run. I don't really want to get into who's gonna win the national championship. I think that's too hard in a one game scenario. But like you said, they have elite pieces. They have elite talent. They can get hot. They can make a run.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of College Football with Sam. I appreciate it. And I would appreciate it even more if you were to hit that like button, comment your thoughts on this video down below, hit that big red subscribe button, and also click that notification bell so that your phone, laptop, or whatever device you use can ding or buzz whenever I release new content and notify you about it so that you can watch more videos like this. College Football with Sam is the best Big Ten football channel on YouTube. We're going to be doing a giveaway when we hit 20,000 subscribers, and we're trying to become one of the best, if not the best, college football channels on YouTube. Your support means so much, and to those of you who are subscribed to my Patreon or purchase merchandise from my store, the links to those are down in the description and pinned comment. Thank you so much. I want to give a shout out to my Patreons. Thanks to Crash2488 for being a Heisman member. Thanks to Spencer Bringhurst, Chris Lane, and Connor Little OH for being All-American members, and thanks to Will Loftus, John Lynn, Roaming Gnome, Matthew Sale, Austin Christmas, and Janisha Cockrell for being All-Conference members. Have a great day, guys, and if you're listening on Spotify or any non-YouTube podcast platform, please check the link in the channel description to find my YouTube channel. And if you're listening on YouTube, feel free to check out my Spotify, if you so please. Have a great day, guys, and I will see you all soon. Bye-bye.